everybody, and welcome to another fun-filled, expeditious episode of Radio Rama, where, as the name implies, I show you how to work on radios. And today we have a 1941 Delco R-1177, and it is a 6-tube transformer-powered set. And I believe, I'm trying to remember the name of it, it was United Delco. What did the label say in the back here? That's hard to read. Let me get my flashlight. Delco R-1177, made by United Motor Services, Incorporated, Detroit, Michigan. The thing is, I know that General Motors bought Delco because they wanted their electronics, probably for their car radios. And I'm not sure if this is pre or after acquisition. I would like to think that maybe General Motors already owned Delco at this point, but I just don't know. I could be totally wrong. But it is one, in my opinion, very sweet looking radio. A lot of pre-war sets are kind of ugly, and this one I think could have been ugly, but this little detail here, that is nice. And plus the finish is in pretty good shape now, albeit when I got it, I was so excited about it that I spent one evening just waxing away, polishing it up and everything without thinking, maybe I should film this. So yes, I've forgotten to film cleaning it up, and it still needs a little more cleanup. But now let's actually find out if it works. So what I'm doing is I'm going to run it up my Variac, which has a amp meter built in. So I'm going to put it, start it off probably at, 50 volts. Okay. I'm not sure if you can hear that coming through, but they're building a new school down the street. And because we live on sand out here, they're having to drive piles down into the sand. I've been hearing that all day for weeks. I feel like I'm kind of used to it, actually. Okay, let's see where we are voltage-wise. It's not drawing much of anything, which means nothing is shorting. Let's bring up a little bit more. That's still pretty good. Nothing to write home about. That's almost full power and not even at an amp yet. I'm hearing a little sound over there. Bring it up the rest of the way.
Freshman of the year, the Big Ten, the Big Francisco downtown, just clear.
Unequivocal.
There. And the least impression of
How they announce.
I just scanned through the radio to see if it worked, because today is January 20th, and I have had the news off all day because I don't want to know, and I don't care about it. So that's all I'm going to say about it. But I had a great day today. I installed a 220 volt line for my electric car that we're leasing. I got a lot of great radios this weekend. This is one of those radios that came in, and then we got this radio. It's about as square as they come. Howard. It's a square name, Howard. That was actually the name of my grandfather. And then this Curtis Mathis, which you've probably already seen the episode of before you see this one. Lots of interesting, great things that have come in lately that I've had a lot of fun working on. So we know it works already. I don't know what its actual electronic condition is. I'll have to admit I lied a little bit. I knew it worked already because I was too giddy and I tried it out the day before, but I wanted to show you, if you do this without knowing, this is the way you should do it. You really need to monitor how much it's pulling, because if it starts pulling a lot of current and you have something that's shorted hard, you can take out your power transformer. I've had it happen, and it's sad. It's a lot of work, and sometimes it's a lot of money. All right, there's 4 bolts that hold the chassis in, then you can just pull it out. Sometimes these get stuck because the rubber feet they're mounted with are like glued. So sometimes you got to wiggle them a little bit. It's a pretty heavy chassis. I'm not going to be able to lift that one-handed. So let me pull that out and we'll take a look underneath. Well, she's been recapped. Not sure if I want to complain about that. Actually, it's not been fully recapped. I was about to say, yippee. No, it's got what looks like the original electrolytic in it. But on the other hand, all the paper capacitors are replaced unless... Man, that doesn't look nice. But it looks like it's a rework, so I wonder if that is a more recent electrolytic replacement. Let me take a look up here. Looks old, definitely old. I don't think it's the original, but it's old enough now to where I wouldn't trust it. So there are 3 electrolytic capacitors that are inside of that can. And what we're looking at is the bottom side, that black thing, that black triangular stamped out shape. That's the underside of the electrolytic. And I really need to get better filming shit. But anyway, there's a square and a rectangle, and what am I saying? There's a square and a triangle and a half moon shape usually. And each one of those stamped out shapes, and these are hard to see because it's buried under here. Usually they're around where the lugs are. And sometimes you have to clean it out. Sometimes the stuff oozes and covers up the shape. But we'll need to figure out what that is. And I can tell by the fact that that's the lug going through the chassis. It is a chassis ground set. And don't be fooled. Sometimes there are definitely floating electrolytics inside of transformer sets. Sometimes you'll have like a reverse voltage or something, or a negative voltage. And so you'll need floating ground in that case. Let's see if I can read what this says on this. 10 and 10 microfarads, and then 20 microfarads at 25 volts. I'm guessing probably the weird one, the low voltage one, is probably unmarked. So it's just 2 10 microfarad caps. I don't know if I have any 10 microfarad caps. I think I have 20 or 40s. And that would be perfectly fine to replace those with. And you know what I like about this even more is the fact that it's not a cadmium plated chassis. It's a copper plated chassis. And nice tuning condenser. The construction of this is pretty nice. I can see why General Motors bought them. It's even got a nice kind of one of these spring-loaded mechanisms to, it's like a tube keeper to keep it from coming loose out of the socket as easily. Looks like whoever was in here before did patch the speaker. And I'll have to look at that more closely. Might go over some of that with a little bit of more flexible glue. Probably give this a general cleaning, clean the volume controlled, and oil the bearings up here in the tuning condenser. But already a good bit of this is complete, so this is going to be a much shorter video. Alright, so I was finally able to identify by digging around in here which leg sticking out from underneath this thing is which. And so let me get out my little pointy thing. This is the worst video filming ever. I'm never going to win an Oscar for Best Documentary. Anyway, these two right here, those are the positive 10 microfarad high voltage capacitors. And this one here is the low voltage 25 volt one. And sadly, this has some of the same awful problems that many immediate American post-World War II sets, at least post-World War II for America sets, have this brittle insulated wiring. And you can see how this is weaving itself through like a bunch of things. And if I move this, it's probably going to crack, like, you know, in a million different places. Either that or it looks like crap and it's still flexible. I've seen that too, but that feels awful suspect. I'll probably have to replace that one, but that's okay. It's like the rest of these are cloth covered wire. That's okay. I think I can probably get the rest of those without having to disturb too much of the wiring. This wiring is not in as bad a shape as I've seen it on some other sets. I mean, that would probably crack if I bent it really hard. But some of these sets, you get in them and, like, you know, if you even look at it, it's like it just, you know, it disintegrates. So let me get in here and replace these electrolytics and see if I spy anything else that might have been missed. These guys, they're mica caps that are sealed inside of rubber. And kind of in my experience, if you don't disturb them, like as soon as you start moving these leads, they start cracking because this is no longer like, the rubber is like no longer even rubber anymore. It's like solidified. You could damage the capacitor, so just kind of leave those guys alone. They're usually fine. Looks like there's a ceramic disc cap here. That's also a more recent replacement. Okay, well, there's, again, like most of the work's already done, but again, you gotta be careful with some of this crumbly wiring, because if you break any of it, or any of it's really critical and it breaks, you don't want to short. Well, looks can be deceiving. I think what it is whatever's in the plastic in this wiring just outgas, and it makes it look like it's really crumbly and gross, when in reality it's actually still perfectly fine. Like, I can bend it over completely over like that and it's fine. Oh well. I ran that new capacitor line here because, again, we're replacing the 3 individual electrolytics that are in this can area. So if you can avoid, you know, using the space that you're going to need for the 2 others, and that makes it handy, because what I'm going to do is just try to mount the new electrolytics as close as I can to the other components that previously soldered to the positives of the current electrolytic. Easy peasy. Got the 3 electrolytics that weren't replaced. They're now replaced. So now let's bring it up. I assume it'll still work unless I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. Yesterday I wasn't able to concentrate as much as I wanted to, but whatever.
I just share with you, it's about maintaining our effectiveness as the salt of the earth. Weekdays at noon Eastern on FS1 and the Fox Sports app.
Anyway, it seems to be working fine. That's good. Now this set on the front says it has a Phono input or Phono connection. I'm trying to determine what that means. Is this the antenna? Not the antenna. Is this the audio input? Could be. I don't know. Looks like it's coming off of the wafer switch, the band switch. But the band switch, I believe, also has the Phono switch. Let me look on the front of the cabinet here. All right, second, the one next to the power, Phono is all the way over to one side. So maybe that is Phono, because it is all the way over to that side. I can't turn this without this stupid knob. Put this back on here. Okay, that is Phono. My finger is touching in that and it makes that noise. So I guess 1 is Phono. 2 Now, 2 I'm assuming must be the ground, but nevertheless, chassis ground could work as well. This has got a power transformer in it. And that means that, at least from a design perspective, the user is isolated from the chassis versus the chassis being the ground for the filament string. The filament string instead is powered by this transformer, so it's all floating in terms of reference ground. It's not going to present itself as near the shock hazard as, say, a set without a power transformer. So in this case, you can run directly through with a audio cord, and we're going to go directly to that connection there and call it a day. There's no need to add a switch. It's already got a switch. There's no need to add an isolation transformer. Some of the 30s sets, like the early 30s sets, you have to add a transformer to boost the signal a little bit. This is quote-unquote new enough not to have that problem. So I'm going to run that cord. And since this is such a lovely set, and I love the way it looks, I don't really want to drill any holes in it. It's already got plenty of holes drilled in it, so I think what I'm going to do is run the cable through here, then put a little glue around it so it doesn't... You know what I might do? This hole is already kind of bigger. I might make it just slightly ever so much bigger, and then we can put a rubber grommet in there and then run the audio line. I guess I too am acting like Tar of the Ground.
Look who's coming down the street all dressed up in modernistic style. It ain't nobody but old Aunt Hager.
Anyway, we got the...
Come on up here and show the boys what you can do.
Turn that down. We got the audio input running through here. Right and left channels going together to make mono. It's on the positive, the negative goes here. And we get audio coming in through my Bluetooth here. Got a lot of dirt in the controls here, so I think I'll clean those up a little bit. I usually put like a little bit of glue behind this knot so that you can't push it in or, you know, move it. It'll stay steady. So let me do that, and I'll also, like I said, I want to kind of clean up these pots a little bit. And I just realized I can't do that because I ran out of cleaner. Crap! I meant to get that at the store yesterday, so I'm going to have to dig around in my supplies to see what else I have. Well, it turned out, I know this sounds stupid, but my WD-40 can ran out. So I stabbed it with this screwdriver. Don't do that, by the way. That's very stupid. And I got some of the juice out of it, and I just dribbled a little bit on here. It seems to be a lot more smooth. That cone sounds okay, but it sure looks like there's a couple of rips in it. So I'm going to investigate that. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to clean the top of the chassis too, because why not? Man, I really like this radio a lot. I don't know why. There's just something about it. It's like solid. Wasn't too bad. There was a few little cracks here and there. I used Lexel, which is kind of a flexible glue material. You don't want to use anything like paper glue, especially on these surrounds here, because then the cone won't move. That'll kill your bass, even though you're not going to get like a huge amount of bass out of this thing. It is what it is. So now what I'm going to do is also, sorry for knocking the camera, I'm going to lubricate some of this stuff that moves. So we've got just a few areas. I mean, it's already turning pretty well. Whoops, I just want to make sure not to get any on the string. Oops. I keep on saying oops. All right, there's another bearing up here. And that is the bearings for the tuning condenser. This is some dust bunnies on this. All right, that's turning a lot better, even though it was turning pretty well to begin with. So now I'm going to lift it, set it upright, and clean the top. The chassis cleaned up pretty nicely. Granted, some of the plating has come off, but that's okay. Thing's like 80 years old. Give it a break. All right, I'm going to clean up the inside a little bit. I'll start with the, you know what? This glass sure looks familiar. It sure looks like an RCA glass. I know it's not. Huh. Oh well. So let's just get some of the dust out of here. I mean, the radio's already in such really nice condition. Might as well make it nice inside and out. And then we will do some reassembly and see what it looks like. All right, it's all back together again now that it's in the sun, which, by the way, it feels very nice. And I feel guilty about feeling nice because I'm sitting in my garage. And at the same time, there's people across the country who are sitting in negative 20-degree weather and wouldn't be able to do this. So I feel sorry for you guys, but it'll get better. And maybe some of you guys like that winter weather. And for those of you, I hope you're having fun. It's just not for me, unfortunately. Anyway, I'm going to turn that down because I know the radio is going to be a lot louder because I previously tried to record this and turned it to the radio selection. It just blasted my ears off. There we go. That's radio.
सर्विस तो जो मुद्दे की बातें कि क्या उनकी
kind of make more successes if you take more chances. Like our kind of perfectionist oriented approach that we often focus on, like, well, I have to do everything perfect.
And how not belong in this.
Checking all state first.
Afford it? Too much hassle?
mission bull
Special moments.
Think about your windows. It's ugly, embarrassing even. It's a new
Ugh. I drove around with cracked windows all the time. Ugly, embarrassing windows. Anyway, it seems like it's working pretty good. I think, like I said, I'll probably wax it just a little bit more. And while I'm doing so, I'll let it play. And so that way, if there's anything that is going to open up because it's getting warm or getting exercise for the first time for an extended period in a long time, I want to find out about it while it's on my bench, plugged in, versus when it's who knows where, across the country, down the street, who knows. It avoids having to do unnecessary house calls. So that more or less concludes this episode of Radiorama. Sorry it was kind of a short and stupid episode, but I just like the way this looked, and I was like, I don't care how little needs to be done or how much it needs to be done. I want to make a video of it because I think it looks stellar. It's too bad about these cracks here, but you know, I'm sure I'll look like that too when I'm 80. All right, see you guys later. Bye-bye.